Pei Gimel. Amud Beis. We're learning Pei Dalet. The last words is Amar Rava. And then we're going to go straight to the top of Pei Dalet. So we had a discussion what the source is for a boat that's tar. We said that a boat is tar. The Mishnah said that a boat is tar. Someone Tameh touches a boat or something Tameh touches the boat. The boat is tar. We learned it because it says Derech Haniyah B'Lev Yam. The way of a boat is in the heart of the sea. And we said just like the sea is tar, the boat is tar. That was the Mishnah. However, Hananya said, no, the boat is tar. He agrees the boat is tar, but he says he has a different source. He compares it to anything that's made from sack, a sackcloth, a pressed goat hairs, that just like a sack is something that could be carried when it's empty or whether it's full, so too, the only things that will become tummy are things that are carried when they're empty and when they're full. Now that's excluding a boat, which is tar, because when it's full, it can't be moved on dry land. When it's full, you have to load it when it's in the sea. So they both agree that a boat is tar. Question is, what's the source? And now we say that there's two differences between these two opinions. One difference was cheres, earthenware. This was interesting because earthenware is not compared to a sack. We said, if it's a boat that's made out of wood, then we would compare it to a sack. We would say that just like a sack can be carried empty and full, so too a boat, it would only become tameh if it could be carried empty and full, but it can't be carried when it's full, so therefore it's tar. But that's only wood, which is compared to sack, which has similarities. However, when it comes to earthenware, which doesn't have that similarity, that comparison to sack, so we would say that an earthenware boat would become tameh, an exception to the rule of boats. Earthenware boat would become tameh. We mentioned that it would be quite odd for their boat to be earthenware, but whatever. The other difference between these two opinions was Sfina Shel Yarden, a river boat. It's still considered in the sea, so it's tahar. However, this boat is smaller and it could be carried when it's full, so it should be tameh. Depends which way I look at it. If I look at the boat that it's tar because it's in the sea, well, it's in the sea, it's in the river, that's considered the sea. But if I look at it that it's tahar because it can't be carried when it's full, so a small boat like this could be carried when it's full. So Amar Rava says, we go to the top of Pei Dalet, and according to Hananya, he was the opinion that said that there's a comparison to a sack that's carried empty and full. Tiltal, it must be that carrying it through oxen, it's not physically lifting it up, but having oxen pull it, that's considered carrying. Maybe we have maybe it's a question, we have an answer. Yes, it is. Okay. Whatever the case is, according to Hananya, this is considered carrying. A movable object which should become tameh. The Tanan, as it was taught in the Mishnah, Shalish Agale saying there's three types of wagons. Asuya Kikatidra, if it's made like a chair, I'm not sure what that word, the source of that word is, but it has a back and a side, so then it's Tamei Medrus. Oh, it's Tamei if a Zav sits on it. Tumas Medrus. Medrus is this special Tumah that it gets the same status as the Zav himself. Because why? Because it's a chair. Kamita, if it's made like a bed. So then Tameya, Tamei Mace. Then it gets Tamei as Tumas Mace, which means all types of Tumas. Tumas Mace means a Tumah of a corpse. Here it means it gets all types of Tumas. However, it's not made for sitting on. It's made for carrying merchandise. If someone would be sitting on it, they would say, get up so we can do our work, and that excludes it from being considered a chair. Anything that you would tell the person, stand up, you're disturbing our work, then that means that it's not a chair. Shalavonim tahir miklum. If this wagon is made from stone, and Rashi says that it's made to carry stones, so then it's tahar. Now, this stone wagon is tahar. So far, we don't have a proof yet. However, if it can also hold pomegranates, whatever the bottom of it is, whether it's stone or netting or whatever it is, if the holes on the bottom are able to hold up pomegranates, because the spaces between them, the netting of it is narrow enough that pomegranates won't slip through, so then it's tumas mace. It means that it could contract tuma. Okay, now, we've just proven something. We wanted to say that Hananya holds that if you can move a boat with oxen, that's considered something that's movable, and therefore should be makabel tuma. Well, we have a source from a Mishnah that says that, and the source is that a wagon that carries stones, Rabbi Yochanan adds to that, and he says that if, even though it's tahar, but if it can also carry pomegranates and they won't fall through, so then it's going to be tamei. Now that wagon could only be pulled by oxen. It's too heavy. And nevertheless, it becomes tamei if it could if it could hold pomegranates. The Mishnah said it's tar, but Rabbi Yochanan added that it could be tamei. That's a proof that something that's only pulled by oxen is considered movable. Okay, today they can move a house. They put it on those things, those trailers. They put it on trucks and they move it. So I don't know if a truck is considered oxen. Yeah, that's what we're discussing here. Is it considered movable when you can move it by oxen? Okay, now, because we mentioned that there's 3 types of wagons, now we say there's 3 types of boxes. Shalish tevasim. Teva shepischa mitzida, tmei medrash. If you can open it from the side, then you can sit on top, and it's considered a chair. You sit on top, and the people can still be opening it from the side. It's not a problem. Milmaila, but if the opening is on the top, some of those boxes you lift it up, so then tmei mace. And obviously it's not a chair, because if someone's sitting on top, they would say, get up, we have to do our work, we have to get the stuff out. So that's not a chair. So it's just as regular tumah as a clay kibble. However, v'abba b'mida, but if it's very large, Rashi over here says mida means something that's a nice size. A big box, then it's tahar miklam, then it's tahar. Very large containers that carry 40 sa don't become tamei if they're not movable. He says mida, anshe midais, that's what Rashi compares it to. Men of measure. Mida means very large. Yeah, I saw this, someone wrote an essay on Paray, it says, was an Amma. So this person was saying, it doesn't mean he was really just an Amma. That's like, an Amma means he was this tall. It's like a midget. He says, no, what it means is that like Anshe Midas, he was extraordinarily tall. It was like Abraham Lincoln tall. And they actually found one of the pharaohs that had the same disease that Abraham Lincoln had, and they think it's him. But anyway, the term mida or amma would mean tall as opposed to the size of a yardstick or the size of a small stick. Okay. Tana Rabbanan, started in a brisa. Medrash klecheres tar. Medrash klecheres tar. Someone that's a zav that sits on a klecheres. Sits on an earthenware utensil. It doesn't get tumas medrash. Earthenware utensils are unique We know that if you touch the outside of it, it doesn't become tummy. It needs to go into the airspace to become tummy. What about if someone sits on it? So we say that it remains tar. Rabbi Yossi Yomer afasvina. Rabbi Yossi says also a boat. Now, we don't know what he means also a boat. Also a boat what? A boat doesn't get Tumas Medras. It's not something you sit on. A boat we were talking about before. If a boat becomes tummy, we're talking about Tumas Maga. If it touches, or someone touches it, or something, or mace. It says, Micah Amar, what is this? This is a brisa. What is this? It's a Tosefta in Kalim. What is this Tosefta saying? Several explanations, possibilities. Amrav Zvid Hachikam. Rav Zvid says the following. This is what it means. Medras klicheres tar. We have to add some words into this. If a zav sits on a klicheres, it remains tar. Magai is tamei. But if he touches it, it becomes tamei. Now, that's not accurate. If he touches a klicheres, it doesn't become tamei. But it means if he touches the inside, the airspace of it, you have to add in those words. The Gemara is adding into the Brisa. We have to add in a little commentary into the Gemara, into this edition that you touch the airspace, then it becomes tamei. The sfina shel cheres tmeya, and a boat that's made out of cheres is tamei, ke chananya, like Chananya says. Okay, what we're doing here is we're adjusting the opinion of the Tanakama that it should fit with Rabbi Yossi, then adding in also a boat. So what do we say? That the Tanakama has an opinion about a boat, that a boat is tamei. And Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi ma'afasfina Torah, ketana didan. And Rabbi Yossi says that a boat is tahar, like the author of our Mishnah. What is this author of our Mishnah versus Chananya? Well, we said we have two sources why a boat is tar. The author of our Mishnah said that it's tar because it goes in the sea. That means it doesn't matter what type of boat it is. It's always tar. Any boat that goes in the sea is tar. And Chananya said, no, it's not because it goes in the sea that it's tar. It's tar because it's comparable to something that's movable when it's empty and full. But that would only apply to a wooden boat. But a boat of cheres is going to become tamei. In other words, that comparison that causes the boat to be tahar doesn't apply to cheres, because cheres doesn't go into that business with if you can move it empty or full. So we start off saying that the Tanakama holds that a boat is tamei, boat of cheres is tamei, like Chananya, and Rabbi Yossi holds like Tana Didan, like our Tana that says that a boat is tar. So Maskefla Rav Papa asks to Rav Zvid, my af. You see, af means also. The Tanakama did not mention anything that was tar from Maga. They said that a klicheres is tamei is tar from medras. Then they go on discussing Maga touching, and they say only things that are tamei. They say that a klicheres is tamei with Maga, and a sfina is tamei with Maga. So they only gave us options of tumas Maga. They didn't give us any options of tahar mi Maga. Comes along Rabbi Yossi and says, also a boat is tar. No one mentioned anything about tar. You can't say also. If you're arguing, don't say also. Say no. A boat is tar. So the way of fixing the brisa didn't work. So El Amar of Papa, rather Rav Papa puts it like this, Hachikamer. He just adjusts what the Tanakama holds, and then it's going to fit. He adjusts the opinions. Medras klicheres tar. Everyone holds that a zav sits on a klicheres. It doesn't get the tumah of medras, which is someone sitting on. Magoy tamei. But touching a klicheres in the inside, in the airspace is tamei. Okay, now we add in. V'shaleitz, something that's wood, bein midrasi, bein magoi tamei. Then that could be tamei medras as well. And it could be tamei through touching. So a wood utensil, if it's turned into a receptacle, that gets real tumah. Both medras and maga. Sfina seyarden, the boat that goes into the river. Now over here they could have also said Sfina shel cheres like we did originally as well. It was arbitrary. They chose this. Tahira Kitana Didan. But a boat that goes into the river is tahar, like the author of our Mishnah that says anything that's in the water is tahar. Rabbi Yossi says no. Also the boat is tamei. Notice the Tanakama said there's a bunch of things that are tamei. Eitz is tamei medras, is tamei maga, cheres is tamei maga. And then they finished off saying a boat is tahar. So Rabbi Yossi says, no, a boat is also a boat is tamei, because the Tanakama was discussing tumah. They just finished off saying that there's not one point that's tahar, and Rabbi Yossi says, no, also the boat is tamei, as a continuation to what the Tanakama was saying. That's how they adjust the brisa. Okay. Now we start to do these minalans. Where do you know this? Where do you know that? We had this. That's what's going on here in the Mishnayos. Saying, how do we know that a sfina is tar? And then we had before, how do we know that avodah zarah is tamei masa? And we're continuing with this. How do we know medras kli cheres minalan de tar? How do we know that if a zav sits on a kli cheres or steps on a kli cheres, it lays on a kli cheres? How do you know that it doesn't get the tumah of medras? Of medras, which means that it has the same tumah as the zav himself. How do you know that that doesn't work by a kli cheres? So Amar Chizkiya says, the Amar Kra, the pasuk says, is talking about a zav. V'isha sheyigam b'mishkavai. Anyone that will touch the bed of the zav, so it says he has to wash his clothing, he has to go to the mikveh. And makish mishkavai lai, but it says mishkavai, his bed. Well, it didn't have to say his bed. It could have said the bed, because it was talking about the zav, and it said that the bed becomes tamei. Now we're talking about someone that's touching the bed, but it adds in that possessive pronoun. So what is it? Why is it? What's that pronoun doing? Mahu islay tara b'mikvah, mishkavi nami islay tara b'mikvah. But just like the zav goes to the mikveh, becomes tar. Now Taisus points out that it's not accurate that he goes to the mikveh and he's tar. What it means, he goes to the mayan and he's tar. It just means that he goes into the water and he becomes tar. A zav needs more than a mikveh, he needs a spring. But he goes into the water, he becomes tar. So too, the bed goes into the water, becomes tar. We didn't finish the end of the sentence yet. Wait one moment, we'll get to the end of the sentence. Tebei Rabbi Shmuel Tana, the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel also taught us in the following way. Over there, the psukim speak about a nida. That's a woman that has a flow in the regular time. And then it speaks about a zava that she has a flow not in the regular time. And it says, by the zava, it says, Kamishkav nidasa yi'ala. In the way, like the bed of a nida, it will be for her. That means that the bed of a zava has the same halachas of a bed of a nida, which also was tumas medras. And now we say, makish mishkavala, kamishkav nidasa yi'ala, it will be for her. So we compare it to her, the bed to her. Mahi islay tara b'mikveh, just like the woman can go to the mikveh. Again, if it's a zava I think also needs a mayan. I think. And I don't remember. So too, no, it doesn't make sense. A zava can go to the mikveh. So too, only the zav I think needed the mayan. Af mishkavanami islay tara b'mikveh, also the bed has tara, could be purified in a mikveh. And now we get to the final point of the sentence. Lafuke klicheres lesli tara b'mikveh. This is excluding earthenware. Earthenware needs to be broken if it's tamei. Aha, this is our point. Our question was, where do we know that medras, if someone sits on a Klicheres doesn't get the tumas medras. As well, tumas medras only applies to things that could be purified in a mikveh. Klicheres doesn't get purified in the mikveh. Therefore, it doesn't have the tumah of medras. Masav Rabbi Loi has a question on this. Mapatz b'meis minayin. Okay, mapatz is an interesting topic. It's made out of reeds, and reeds are really pshute kliates. They're really straight pieces of wood. This is the way Rashi learns, I think. And regular pieces of wood don't get tumas maga, tumah through touching. It needs to be a receptacle. However, this is considered a cheer, so it has tumas maga. One second, let me just adjust this light. Maybe better. No. Okay. So, how do you know that a mapatz gets tumas meis, that a mat can become tamei with tumas meis? There's a problem here because it's pshute kliates. The only thing is that it has tumas medras. We have a rule that anything has tumas medras has tumas meis, but maybe the rule may be associated with this, what we're learning right here. So mapatz meis minayin. How do we know that this could become tamei with tumas meis, with a corpse? The Gemara says, well, we'll learn it's logical. V'dinu. Ma pachem ktanim. When it comes to small jugs, there's an interesting sort of jug. It's made out of clay, so it only gets tamei with something tamei entering into its ear space. The problem is you can't get anything into the ear space because it has a very narrow neck. So it doesn't have shetahirim bezav. It's tahar for a zav because it's not made for sitting on. It's a little jug, probably for oil or something. It's a little jug. Pachim ktanim, like by Yaakov or by Chanukah. It's a small jug. So, and nevertheless, tamei and b'meis. But nevertheless, it does become tamei with tumas meis. Why? Because if it's in the tent, if it's in an oil where someone died, it will become tamei under that oil. It doesn't have tumas maga because you can't get your finger into it. If you move it, it doesn't become tamei because even a zav that moves something gives off tumah, but it will only become tamei if it could become tamei through the ear space. If you could get your finger into it and then he would move it, then it would be considered that he moved the ear space. And it would become tamei, but he can't get his finger into it because it's too narrow. So also, it doesn't become tamei through hesed, through moving. It also doesn't have tumas masa because only something that has tumas maga has tumas masa. Okay, whatever the case is like a real interesting exception that it doesn't have any of these tumas maga, but it still has tumas meis. So I have leniencies by this pachim ktanim, but nevertheless it has tumas meis. So mapatz, let's take a mat. It doesn't have any of those leniencies. It only has the stringencies. Shemetami bezav, that it becomes tamei with the zav. The zav sits on it because it's something that you sit on. It's a mat. So in a dinshi tamei meis, for sure it should have tumas meis. If things that don't have tumas zav have tumas meis, so something that has tumas zav should for sure have tumas meis. The Gemara says 1 second. That's the source. Why are we saying this? That it has tumas meis? Halas leitara b'mikvah. A mapatz can't be put into a mikvah to become tar. What's going on over here is that we learned how to purify utensils from what happened in Midian. Over there, they came back from war, and they had all of these spoils, and it says what's this goes into fire, to kasher things, and we learned kashering and also mikvah. Over there, it doesn't mention pshute kliates, straight pieces of wood. Only receptacles, it says there. Those go into a mikveh. So here I have pshute kliates, that it doesn't say that it goes into the mikveh to become purified if it becomes tamei. Well, so if it doesn't become purified in a mikveh, take us back to why is kli cheres tar from tumas medris, from tumah v'zav, because we had a comparison between the bed and the zav, that just like the zav can go into the water and become tar, so too the bed can go into the water and become tar. That excluded kli cheres, because kli cheres doesn't go into the water to become tar. Something that doesn't go into the water to become tar doesn't have tumas medris. Let's go over to here. Mapatz doesn't go into the mikveh to be tar. It shouldn't have the tumah that we're trying to attribute to it. Which here it's tumas mace. Are we asking it shouldn't have tumas medris either? Maybe we were asking that it shouldn't have tumas medris. It doesn't go to the mikveh. The Gemara gives an interesting answer. Amalei Rab Chanina. Rab Chanina answers to Rabbi Lai. Shani hasam hayel ve'ika b'minai. It specifically doesn't need to go into the mikveh. This type of material needs to have potential to go to the mikveh, which is if it would have been a receptacle, then it would go to the mikveh. Okay. So once this material has a mikveh usage, which if it would have been a receptacle, you would put it into the mikveh. So therefore, even if this specific item doesn't go into a mikveh because it has no receptacle, it's just a flat mat, so it can still be tumas medris because it has the type. In its type, in its species, in its kind, there is mikveh. There is mikveh usage, so this will also will have the ability to become tamei because its kind has that. Amalei, so Rabbi Loi responds to Rabbi Chanina, Rachmana litzlan mihai daita. That means the merciful one should protect us from that logic. The kind, the type is going to make it, therefore it's going to become tamei. This is a very strong expression for just a halacha discussion. This is more like for politics. Okay. He says, Adarabba, Rachmana litzlan midaita didach. He says, on the contrary, Hashem should protect us from your logic. Okay, and he goes on, Reb Chanina goes on to explain. But time am I? Why am I saying that if its species has a tara b'mikvah, so then it should be able to contract tumas medris, and then by extension, tamei meis, by the Kal V'chaimer, because there's two psukim. Ksiv, one pasuk says, V'shashiga b'mishkavai. That's the pasuk that we quoted. If someone will touch his bed with that pronoun on it. Uksiv, but I have another pasuk. V'chol mishkav, any bed, there's no pronoun there. Ashi yishkav alav, that he sleeps on it. Ashi yishkav alav asav, yitma, becomes tamei. It doesn't say kol mishkavai. It says kol mishkav, general. There's no pronoun there. Hakeitzad. So when do we say that it is compared to him and one is not compared to him? So we go like this. Yesh b'minai afagav d'lesle tar b'mikvah. That pasuk is telling me that if, even though it itself can't be compared to the zav, but its kind can be compared to the zav, that it has tar b'mikvah, that we're talking about, let's say pshute kliates, straight pieces of wood, that its species could go to the mikvah. Species is if it's a klei kibul. So that also becomes tamei. Ein b'minai, but if it's even its species doesn't go in, klei cheres, for example, doesn't go to the mikveh no matter what. So makish mishkavalei, then we do a comparison and we say that it doesn't have tumas medris. Okay. So we have psukim here that can fix this question. Rabbi Chanina has a source for his answer. Rava gives a different source. We said that there was a comparison between the bed and the zav. Rava says like this. Medras klicheres tar mehacha. We learn it from the following, that the medras sitting on a klicheres doesn't get too much medras. It says, V'chol kli psuach hashein samid pasel alav. Any open utensil, any open earthenware vessel that doesn't have a seal covering it is going to be tamei in a tent. Hayesh samid pasel alav tar. But if there is a seal on it, then it becomes tar. Mila yaskinan. Are we not dealing with that this sealed utensil was made for his wife? That's a nida to sit on. In other words, we don't have any psukim don't mention what this utensil was used for, but we say, could it not be that even if it was made for his wife to sit on, we say that if it has a seal on it, then it's protected by tumas mace, and if it doesn't have a seal, then it becomes tamei. Whatever the case is, we know that it's tar. Why should it be tar? If a medras, if a woman that was in need sat on it, so it must be that it doesn't get tumas medras. It's totally tar. Tar from mace and tamei from medras as well. He learns it from the sealed utensil that it's totally tar no matter what.
How come the Gemara doesn't give the explanation of Rabbi Eloi? Only gives the answer of Rabbi Chanina.
1 second. Tell me again.
How come when Rabbi Eloi says Rachmana litzlan, and then Chanina says Rachmana litzlan, and so Chanina gives his proof, so why isn't giving any back?
Yeah, I don't know. Isn't it such like a hard? It's such a strong expression for a little halachic dispute. Very interesting. I don't know. Okay, now we have the next Mishnah. This is what Dr. Stein warned us about before we started. That it gets confusing because there's a lot of different ways of learning this. And there's no diagrams, of course, in the original Talmud text. So it's up to interpretation of what exactly the Gemara means. And there's Rashi and other Shainim and everyone. And when you start looking at the pictures, it can throw you off a little bit. Okay. We're talking about Minayin. From where do we know these halachas? So now we have another Mishnah that says Minayin. From where do we know La Ruga? Shishal Shisha Trachim. If I have a patch, a ruga means a row, but if I have like a small patch of land, how do I know if it's 6 by 6 tvachim? Shazarim b'seicha chamish zarainim, that I can plant in it 5 seeds, and it's not considered kalayim. Now, kalayim means mixtures, forbidden mixtures. That applies to grafting, of course, but in Eretz Yisrael, it could apply to in a vineyard. That's like the very strict one. But it also applies to vegetables. And are vegetables derabanan? I think it's a derabanan by vegetables. I'm not sure. But okay, what we're learning here is that you can avoid this prohibition. You can manage to fit 5 types of vegetables in a 6 by 6 area. So it goes like this. How do you fit this in? So it says daled al daled ruches. Well, each side you can fit in 1, so that's 4. If you look at the picture in Rashi, there's a box. You notice there's like a grayed area along each side. And then it says, Rachas be'emtza, and 1 in the center. Shenemar, and we have a pasuk. says Kikars Taitzi Simcha, Ukagina Zrea Tatzmiach. Zara. Tatzmiach Zara. I'm sorry. Zara lei nemar ela zeruah. It doesn't say its seed, but it says its seeds. It sprouts forth its seeds. That means that it's going to be more seeds than one. The Gemara is going to explain how you get 5. It's leaving a space of, I guess, 3 tvachim in between the sides. It's not a full 3 tvachim because there's no space for it. The whole thing is only 6 tvachim. We need to leave a space of 1.5, probably. How much space is in between the sides and the center? There's different opinions. There's two issues with kalayim. One is that they can't take nourishment from each other, and the other one is that they shouldn't look like it's growing together. It should be a clear distinction in the pattern that it's growing. And apparently it's enough if we can just separate it, that it doesn't look like it's growing together, even though if the roots on the bottom are underground, they're getting nourishment from each other. That seems to be not the main issue here. It says, my mashma. How do you see that you can get 5 plants in an area of 6 tvachim, 6 by 6? Rav Yehuda explains, Kikaris Taitzi Simcha. Like the earth sprouts out its growth. Taitzi is chad, sprouts out is 1. Simcha, its growth, is another one. Chad. Haritrei equals 2. Okay, so far we have 2. Zeruah, its seeds. Remember, the Mishnah said, it doesn't say Zara. Zeruah, its seeds with a plural S. Trey, that's another 2. So that's a total of 4. Ha'arba. And then it finishes off. Tatzmiach, it grows, it sprouts out. That's chad, that's another one. So ha'chamisha, that equals 5. For Kimlu, the Rabbanan, we're now on top of page Pei. The rabbis established the Chamisha B'shita Layanki, that 5 seeds in the 6 by 6 doesn't take nourishment from each other. Me'adadi, from each other. Uminala da Kimlu Rabbanan. And how do we know that this was established by the rabbis, that this is a real rule, that milsi, that this is considered something that we can accept? What's the meaning of the pasuk? Don't go over the border of your friend, of your neighbor. That the early ones have set in place, put those borders in place. Don't go over what the early ones have set as borders. My Gavlu Rishonim, what is this business with the early ones set borders? Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Rav Yonasan. Shmuel Bar Nachmani says the name of Rav Yonasan. My Diksiv, what does it mean? What does it mean? Ele b'nei Seir ha'chayri yeshvi aretz. These are the sons of Seir, the Chayri, that dwell in the land. What do you think? They live in the heavens? What does it mean, dwell in the land? They were experts in the land. They would say, this area, Kaneh is a measurement, this area is good for planting olives. Fill up this area with vines for grapes. This is a good area for figs. What does it mean that they're called chayri? Why are they called chayri? They would smell the soil, and they would be able to tell what's good to plant there. Why is they also called chivi? They would taste the soil, eat dirt, right? Like a snake, and they could tell what there is to plant there. Steinsaltz mentions that the pH in the soil is important for what you're gonna plant there, and they were able to taste it instead of using the little the strips, the colors they could taste it.
Excuse me. How does this Mishnah and this discussion fit into the theme of the Gemara? How do we go from Tumah Tahara to this Mishnah, and how does it fit?
Yeah, we're looking for sources for random things, psukim sources for random things, and what we're going to say shortly is, how do you know that you're allowed to wash the baby that had a bris on the third day? We're going to bring a source for that. But as an introduction to that, we're asking, how do we know this? How do we know that? How do we know this? How do we know that? It's just like a bunch of questions. How do we know? How do we know that you can plant 5 seeds in a 6 area, a 6 by 6? Well, so we're going to learn that apparently the early settlers in Israel knew what to plant where, and okay. Now, Rav Acha Bar Yaakov says, Rav Acha Bar Yaakov Amar Chayri, why they called Chayri? Shenasa b'nei Chayrim menachseim, that they became freed from their possessions. They were liberated from their wealth, I guess, because they were conquered. So that doesn't prove to us anything about what they knew. But what we're seeing is that apparently they were able to they knew what soils were good for what, which also would tell us that they knew how much nourishment was needed per seed. Okay. But you have a pH tester? You have to unmute. I can't hear.
This is the kind of vessel you can't get your finger into.
Oh.
Only the Catholic. You can't get your finger in there almost. But earthenware, make believe.
It could be. It depends what status we give to plastic.
Right. Yeah, I'll find the earthenware one.
Because we don't kosher plastic, it could be it would have that status as earthenware. Ashkenazim. No, that's glass. Ashkenazim don't kosher glass because it has the status of earthenware. Okay.
Rabbi, litmus paper. Litmus paper was the word you were looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Turns blue if you lick it. So that's what we do with the soil, right? We lick the soil and know it's good for grapes.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Apparently in Homestead, they had a lot of pine trees there that affected the pH of the soil, and that's why they're able to grow different things. Okay. Amar Ravasi says, Aruga Taicha Vav Chutz Migvula. We gave this whole discussion over here about what you can plant inside a 6 by 6. We didn't mention the outside of it because it's really not a 6 by 6. It's a 6 by 6 only if you talk about what you're planting. But if you're going to talk about what you have outside of it, you're going to have to add area to create a boundary around it. And it's not really a 6 by 6. It's a 6 by 6 if you ignore the boundary. Tanya Nami Hachi was also taught in a Braisa, Aruga Taicha Shita Vulea Bekama. It's Taicha, it's inside a 6, but how big is, we asked the Gemara, how big is its boundary around it? You have to add space because or else 6 by 6, and then what do you put right next to it on the outside? So it says, how much space do you need empty? Rashi explains parsa is a footstep, the size of a foot. I guess a foot. Outside the you still need a foot surrounding the 6 by 6 tvachim. Amar Reb Zera. Reb Zera says, "Vitem Reb Chanina bar Papa." Some say it's Reb Chanina bar Papa. My time with Reb Yehuda. What's the reason for Reb Yehuda that he says that it needs to be the size of a foot? That you will water with your feet like the vegetables in the garden. Ma regel tefach. Just like a foot is a tefach. Ma regel tefach. Afkvul nami tefach. I thought he was saying more than a tefach. I guess a foot. A foot is a tefach, maybe sideways. What does they say? What does their commenting? Okay, whatever the case is, it needs to be a tefach surrounding the this little patch of 6 by 6. Okay, Amar Rav Aruga Bechurva Shaninu. Rav says that when we were talking about this and we didn't mention that you need a boundary, that's because it was one patch and everything else was desolate. The Gemara says, Vikamakam Kronos. Says, why do you have to say that everything else was desolate? We have a different way of doing this. We could do this in a way where the corners will clearly show us that it's not attached to the other patches that are surrounding it. If you take a look in the Rashi, you see there's 9 boxes, but you have to look more carefully. You see, we're looking at the center box. That's each one is 6 by 6, and you see there's 6 little boxes in there. Each is 6 by 6 tefachim. But if you look at the way that you could possibly plant them, you could plant one going from east to west, or west to east, south to north, and then the other one on the other corner. If you look at the boxes next to it, none of the rows are matching to the rows in the center. So we have a way of doing it where you don't need to put it at everything else is empty. You could put it very close, and it's still very clear that it's not the same, it's not growing in the same way. It's not getting mixed because you planted it in an opposite direction. So Amri Beirav Mishmedirav V'Malias Akronis. We're talking about a case where you didn't do that. You filled in the corners. This means you've filled the whole side up. The Gemara asks, so don't do that. Why do you have to say that you did that? It says plant on the outside and don't fill up the corners in the inside. I guess that's what it means. The Gemara says, no, we don't want you to have that scenario. You may end up filling up the whole center center box along the sides, and then it's going to be confusing with the sides that are around it. Gemara asks, there is a way of doing these things where the Reish Tor is the pattern of the way the rows go is going in one direction, and then the pattern the way the other one goes is in the opposite direction. And they would actually have like a triangle where one field would go into the other. It's very clear because this triangle that's going in, the rows are going up and down, and the fork that's like around it has the rows that are going in the opposite direction. So and we can always differentiate. We're discussing a kalayim. Those differentiate between what row this belongs to, because you can see it's growing in the other direction. The Gemara answers, one second before we get to the answer. It says, it's very clear where the end of this field ends and where that one begins, even though it's very close in space, in distance, but it's clear that it doesn't belong to that patch. It says, Ein Reish Tor Baruga. When you have small things, you don't have a Reish Tor. This is just a small patch. a square foot garden. Is that what it's called? Square foot garden? They have these little blocks. So that you can't. One second. You can't make that distinction when it's so small. Okay. Shmuel says, it's different than what we were saying before. We had the opinion of Ravasi that you need to leave a tefach around, or Rav Yehuda that you need to leave a tefach around. We had the opinion of Rav that says that we weren't even discussing at all if there's anything around it. Now Shmuel says, Aruga ben Aruga Shanino. No, it's mamish right in the center. This patch is right in the center of the other ones. Now the Gemara takes the opposite approach. Just 1 second, it's going to mix. It says, B'nai Teshur Lakan, B'shur Lakan. Shmuel gives you a very easy solution. You bend them facing opposite directions. So this one, you bend it growing inward. This one, you bend growing outward. Amar Ula. Ula says, Boy b'marava. They asked the question, Eretz Yisrael. Hifkiya talamechad al pnei kulamahu. Let's say you have a row that's going through the whole thing, and it's messing up the pattern. This is one approach. That it's messing up the pattern that you're making to keep everything separate. Or you made the whole thing with rows. There's different approaches to learning this Gemara. Just straight long rows. Can you have, let's say, 5 rows going along this 6 by 6? That's the question. Amar Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes says, Ba irvuv ubitel es ashura. No, it's going to the mixing is going to mess up the rows. Ravasi Amar Eini Ruvam Batal Shiva. No, it's not a problem. It's not going to mix up the rows. Esri Ravina Ravashi. Ravina asks Ravashi. It says Hanoitish Stei Shuris Shel Kishuin. If someone plants 2 rows of cucumbers, Stei Shuris Shel Diluin, 2 rows of squash, I guess. Stei Shuris Shel Pula Mitzri, 2 rows of beans. Shura, that's mutter. In other words, that you can differentiate, that is, you have separate rows over there. You have separate species, and you can keep them separate. However, Shura Achas Shel Kishur and Shura Achas Shel Dilu and Shura Achas Shel Pula Mitzri, if you have 1 row of cucumbers, 1 row of squash, 1 row of these beans, that's already going to mix, and that's aser. So it's a kasha that we see that there is irvuv if you just have a row. We had a machlekes Ravashi and Ravasi. I'm sorry, Rav Sheshes and Ravasi. Apparently, Rav Sheshes is correct that if you have 1 row, it's going to mix. My answer is Shani Hachadika Sharacha. This is slightly different because this has the type of plants that send out these big leaves or these vines that are going to go out and they're going to spread and they're going to mix with the other ones. If it's not this type of plant, then you would be able to do it. So I guess the cucumbers and the squash and the beans would spread and intermingle with each other. 1 second. Sarah? Can you take the baby? Okay. Amar Rav Kana Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Rav Kana says the name of Rabbi Yechanan. Haretz l'malas kol ginasa yerek. Someone that wants to fill his whole garden with vegetables. Aisaruga shisha al shisha. What he can do is he can make a row of 6 by 6, a patch, 6 tvachim by 6 tvachim, va'igel b'chamisha. I don't know what it means, igel b'chamisha. Doesn't mean he puts 5 circles into it. And when you grow things in circles, in small circles, then you're able to be very clear to mark off what each area that there is. And then he says, and then you can fill up the corners with other things. The Gemara asks, what about in between the patches? What is going to happen there? You don't grow anything there. That you have to leave empty. No, you can grow this one like this and this one like that, and it's going to be clear that they're separated. Rabin asked Rav Ashi a question. Avodas yerek b'yerek acher shisha tfachim b'yerek acher. How much do you have to move away from one vegetable? Shisha tfachim. 6 tfachim. V'roya maisa ketavla merubas. And you have to view it as a square. What we're seeing over here is that the circle thing that Rav Kahana was introducing to us from Rabbi Yochanan contradicts what we have over here from this brisa. It says that you're supposed to grow it in squares, not in circles. Kitablahu deshari halav hachiyasar. It's only mutter if you do it in squares and you do the way that Rashi had, where each one is going differently.
It's interesting. One sees this agricultural arrangement sometimes when flying over the country. And sometimes farmers plant the corners of the square outside the circle with something that doesn't need watering or needs very little. And then there's an entirely different crop planted within the circle within the square is a type that needs a lot of water because that's how the irrigation system operates going in a circle.
Oh, interesting. I don't know, did they have the same sort of irrigation systems that would spray like that? Or were they using water? How were they using? I guess they had similar systems.
Well, I don't know, but sometimes you see pictures. I don't know if these artists know what they were talking about an irrigation system that involved an animal turning around a mechanism. What do I know? Just what I've seen.
Interesting. So we ask that it's supposed to be in a square that says Hasam, that not necessarily so. Hasam la kuli bakula achrina lahata reish Torah yotzei mena. Apparently we're going back on something that we said before. Before we said that there was an opinion that says you don't have a reish Torah. Reish Torah was when you had the triangle that goes into the in a small area, small patches, you can't use the triangle. Here we say that, no, you can use a triangle that goes into another field, and that shows that it's a different field. And that you can only do if you grow it in squares. If you grow it in squares, then you have the corners of those squares, which is like the diamond shape, going into the triangle, going into another field. Okay, now we're on today's daf, and there's a Mishnah. This we should have had on Shavuos to match it up, because this is the discussion of how many days the husband and wife needed to separate before the giving of the Torah to be pure. It says, "Minayin shapileta shechvazer b'yem hashlishi shehi tmeya." So the zera, the sperm, is viable for 3 days. So how do you know that up to 3 days, if it is released from the woman, that she's tummy? She becomes tummy. She's called the peileta shechva zera. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk that they should prepare for 3 days. That means that they should be separated for 3 days because they needed to go to the mikveh before they received the Torah. And let's say they went to the mikveh and then it was discharged after the mikveh. Well, it should become tummy. So what was the point of the mikveh? So it has to be that if it's released or discharged after the mikveh, it doesn't make her tummy. So it's only viable for 3 days. Okay, so Minayin, that's one thing. How do you know that you can wash the milah, wash the bris, on the third day from the bris, even if it's on Shabbos? Bring the pasuk by Shechem. They were in pain on the third day. It says that that's the day that's when it's dangerous, and so therefore you could wash the baby. How do you know that you tie a red thread over the goat that was sent to Azazel? It says in the pasuk, if your sins are like red, they'll turn white like snow. Okay? That's going to be a source. How do you know that putting on ointments on the skin is the same prohibition as drinking, which is forbidden on Yom Kippur? So it says, we don't have an actual source, but we have something that alludes to it, and that's Shenemar. It says, Vatavi kamayim b'kirba, pasuk in Tilim, the water will go inside, it will come like water inside, and like oil, ukashem batzmeisav on his bones. So we have this, a comparison between oil on the skin and water in drinking water. The Mishnah started off that a pelet shechva zera is 3 days. It's viable for 3 days. Now, Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah argues with the Rabbanan, who holds that it doesn't take, that it's much less than 3 days. So the Gemara says, Reishad like Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, and Sefer Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah holds that you have 3 days. On the third day, that's when it's dangerous for the baby after the bris. You have to wash the area. It can be Machal Shabbos on that day. The story, the midrashim that we have about Shechem is quoted in Pirkei de Rebbe Elazar. And it must be that Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah is the one that says it, that's talking over there. Anyway, it's a different Rebbe Elazar. That's Rabbi Eliezer, Pirkei de Rebbe Eliezer ben Harkanas. Whatever the case is, that the first 2 cases of the Mishnah don't fit with the same opinion. Dir Rebbe Eliezer ben Azariah, Tahira Sheman Alei. We heard that not the third day is Tameh, we heard the third day is Tahar. It's only 2 days. So the Gemara answers like this. If you want the beginning of the Mishnah to be Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, so Mandalay Muke Ketanai, if you don't want it to be 2 different opinions here, so Tana Reisha Taira, if you notice, when you look at the Mishnah, it says, Minayin Lapilat Shech Vazer B'Yem Shlishi Sheyehei Tmeya. Switch that word. And you read it, Minayin Shepilat Shech Vazer B'Yem Shlishi Sheyehei Tahira. How do you know that the third day is Tahar? And then it will fit with Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Rebbe Naftali, this is uncomfortable to just switch to make it fit. But Man demukim kitanai, but the one that will learn it like 2 different Tanaim. So Reisha Rabbanan, Sefer Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. The Reisha is the Rabbanan, the Sefer is Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Okay, we can go a drop further without getting into the whole sugya. So let's leave it right here. And Mitzvah Shem will go through this. This is a sugya on its own.